All right, well, this is rich beyond belief. Bernie Sanders will be cutting the hours of his salaried campaign staffers in order to get them to a $15 an hour wage. Now, first of all, this should not have ever even happened. If it is true, as Bernie Sanders says it is, that paying less than $15 an hour should be made criminal, if you should have fines imposed on you or your business shut down or you should be thrown in jail for paying under $15 an hour, then shame on Bernie Sanders for ever committing this heinous act of having his staffers work so much that their salary is akin to making $13 an hour. This is a prime example, at the very least, of a politician not putting their money where their mouth is. But furthermore, this really is just a wonderful moment in which we get to see, in real time, a lesson in the effects that minimum wage laws would have on workers, and it's nice to see Bernie Sanders learning this lesson as well, although I doubt it will stick. It's very often said by people who support a $15 minimum wage that this will be great. Low-income workers will be making more money, they'll be spending more of it, and everyone benefits. Okay, this is a perfect example of what we mean when we say that this will not happen. These campaign staffers of Bernie Sanders will now be making the equivalent of $15 an hour. Congratulations, you all did it. Unfortunately, you won't actually be seeing one extra dime. Bernie Sanders did exactly what those of us who criticize minimum wage laws said would happen. Instead of the workers receiving more money, hours are cut. Now, this is for salaried workers, but what if this was for hourly wages, which is what the minimum wage really affects? Then it would be disastrous for those workers. They would be directly losing out on money when hours are cut because an employer can't afford someone for 40 hours a week at that rate. It's something that needs to be pointed out, that it is completely lacking in perspective to think of a minimum wage increase as simply an increase from, say, $7.50 an hour to $15 an hour. That is thinking of it in terms of just one singular hour. But the reality is that workers generally work 40 hours a week, 160 hours a month, 1,920 hours a year. So that increase from just $7.50 an hour to $15 an hour doesn't seem that bad until you take the actual reality of the situation into consideration. You need to multiply that increase by 1,920, and now you're able to really see how on a yearly basis that minimum wage increase would be a staggering increase in cost. An increase of actually about $14,400 a year to be exact. And even worse than that, that would be for only one employee. If you have 20 employees all making minimum wage, for example, that would be a yearly cost increase of $288,000 a year. That's basically almost buying a new house every year. You can just kiss that business goodbye. Those workers will very soon be making the real unalterable minimum wage, which is $0 an hour, because that business would likely fold up shop. Or you would see them do more or less what Bernie Sanders has done here. Instead of actually raising their salary, instead of Bernie Sanders actually cutting larger checks for his employees, he cuts their hours in an illusory attempt to say, hey, we pay $15 an hour here. Well, that sounds great, but what Bernie Sanders has really done here is simply prove the exact point we've been saying all this time. But that is it for now. Like, subscribe, and share this video, and take it easy.